contact you and let you use the mic if you can. If not, we'll let them repeat the question for you. Those online, we want to welcome you to this session. I know there's a good number online. We appreciate that this evening. And I think that covers it.
All right, that's good.
Please submit your questions through the chat, and I'll try to pass them on to you. Good luck, Marna and Mark.
Hey, thanks, guys. First of all, if you want to move to either of the sides or up closer, that might be a good thing. There's a lot of material on the slides. So I'm Marna Wally, and I work on ZOS installation and upgrade topics within ZOS development. And my coworker here, who has been really great about working also on upgrade, he is also here. And you can email us, and our emails are curiously similar. I'm mwally@us.ibm.com, and he's mwallen. We share a lot of emails. It's totally okay. We work on a lot of the same stuff, so it's been good. So this session is 2-hour sessions put into 1 hour. So this is going to be a fire hose of a session. But the handout, as always, is going to be all of the slides and all of the speaker notes. So you're going to have a whole lot of material out there. So if there's something that you didn't see on a slide, because I might have hidden it, I've hidden, I don't know, maybe 50 slides or so. So if it's hidden, don't worry, it's all in the backup and you still got all the speaker notes. So what we're going to do is we've taken all of the planning information to get you to ZOS 2.5. And I'm going to say that the best way to get to ZOS 2.5 is to know ahead of time what you are going to have to do, because most of the upgrade actions are things that you can do ahead of time, luckily. Okay, so that is a good thing to know now. Hey, you coming in? Welcome. So we're going to talk a lot about the planning activities for ZOS 2.5, a little bit about the content. Actually, Mark is going to do the first half of the presentation, which is more of the planning activities. Okay, and then we're going to get to the second half of the presentation, which is all of the technical upgrade actions. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about those in the second half of the session. So, sit back. You're going to get a fire hose of information here. And if you want to talk to us afterwards, we'll both be around afterwards for that as well. All right, so let's get Mark up, and he's going to start with the planning information. Here you go, Mark. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay. Can you hear me all right? Okay, good. All right, so this the first chart here is what's changing in ZOS 2.4 and 2.5. The elements in black here are our base elements. The elements in green are optionally priced features, and the elements in brown are the optionally unpriced features. Elements that have changed in ZOS 2.5 are underlined, and those that are underlined haven't changed since ZOS 2.4. So the first optionally priced feature in ZOS 2.4 is RUXA, which is Restricted User Commons Service Area. Prior to ZOS 2.4, you could install RUXA with an APAR OABLE 56180. After 2.3 or starting with 2.4, RUXA is now an optionally priced feature, so you have to purchase this. It supports restricted user key CSA usage with SAF authority. IBM recommends you move off the use of user key common storage area, however. Also new in ZOS 2.4 and 2.5 is the authorized code scanner, or ZACS. It's designed to prevent unauthorized callers from being incorrectly granted the authorized state. It detects vulnerabilities in routines with diagnostic information for remediation. You can get this back in 2.4 with APAR's OABLE 59702 and OABLE 60166. All right. Oh, sorry. Go back here. All right. The other is the IBM ZOS Workload Interaction Correlator, or ZWIC. It enables ZOS components and middleware to generate cost-effective summary of data. And you can obtain this in ZOS 2.5 3 different ways. It's entitled, with no additional cost when you have RMF is licensed, or it's entitled with no additional cost when you have ADG licensed. And you can also just license ZWIC if you don't have the ADG or RMF license. Okay, user key comment. We have a fire here, which Martin and I think is it's a big item or important item, upgrade action going to ZOS 2.4. So if you're already on 2.4, you've handled this, but if you're going from 2.3 to 2.5, you may need some work here. So this is the removal of user key comment. This is made up of 3 distinct pieces, and it's important to understand how to accommodate the removal of each one of those pieces. The first is the removal of user key CSA. Previously, this was allowed in the diag member specifying yes on allow user key CSA. This is no longer allowed. However, RUXA, which I mentioned previously, can help here. RUXA is a little different though, in that you can that you set permissions to allow user key CSA with SAP authority authorized method, SAP authorized method. The second part is the removal of support of ESQA storage to user key. RUXA won't help you here, so you have to do this. Starting in ZOS 2.4, you must remove all user key ESQA usage. And the third piece is the removal of support for creating scope equals common data spaces in user key. Again, RUXA won't help us here as well. This one, though, you can try out now. If you're on 2.3, you can specify it with a diag parm member, specifying allow user key CADs no. And if you haven't done that, I would recommend you do that. We do have a health check that can help you out here, and there's some new capabilities with APAR OABLE 5335. We have enhanced SMF type 30 records. Something new, you can specify FESAM allow early RUXA yes in your diag parm live, and you want to see the plus doc holds in APAR OABLE 61368 and OABLE 62499 for more information on that. Okay, another item removed in ZOS 2.4 is the removal of DFS SMB. DFS was composed of both SMB and ZFS, but now it's just a ZOS file system or ZFS. We have a health check to help you determine if you're using SMB, and if you are, you want to stop using it. You also want to make sure you have verify that you have NFS up and running. NFS does ship 2 workflows for you, one to configure NFS, and the second one is to help you migrate from DFS SMB to NFS. All right, here's another fire item, the HFS. So starting in ZOS 2.5, HFS is no longer supported. You must move your HFSs to ZFS. There is a utility that's provided, BPXW H2Z, that can help you do this, this migration. Second, we have the ISPF workstation agent is no longer supported. You want to use the Zoe data set encryption or data set explorer instead. And direct invocation of systems SSL API for TLS SSL by the TN3270 server, FTP server, or DCAS. You want to convert those to use the ATTLS. Okay, another fire item. This is to be withdrawn after release ZOS 2.5, and that's the removal of JES 3. Lots of work has been done in JES 2 to get the equivalent functions available for you that from JES 3. Also starting in 2.4, the JES 2 SMPE zone will no longer be able to be removed from your server pack. Okay. Ordering, okay, so ZOS 2.4 stopped ordering, being available January of 2022. ZOS ordering started on September 17th of 2021. We GA 2.5 on September 30th of 2021. Crypto support for ZOS, some good news here. In the past, it was crypto was a web deliverable. Now that we provide this via hardware support via PTFs. In ZOS 2.5, HCR 77 dog 2 is in the base. And PTFs will all have the hardware fixed cat. So it'll be able to easily identify which PTFs you'll need for your crypto by using the hardware fixed cat in your missing fix report. Okay, some no charge orderables. We have the XML toolkit for ZOS version 1, release 11, the IBM 31-bit SDK version 8, and the IBM 64-bit SDK version 8. Now, starting in ZOS 2.5, ZOSMF, we have a prereq for the IBM 64-bit SDK. We have the SDK Node.js 14, and although we require Java 8 SDK prereq for ZOS 2.5, per the Java 11 SOD, you may be expected to install Java 11 on ZOS 2.5. Okay, service policy here, we have no changes from what we've done in the past. With a 2-year release cycle, IBM has 5 years of ZOS support with a 3 years extended support. Coexistence policy, again, same as normal, it's N-2. So that means if you're running on ZOS 2.5, you can coexist with ZOS 2.4 and or ZOS 2.3. And the same thing for, So if you're running ZOS 2.4, you can't have your ZOS 2.5 on the same system. Oh, I should mention the two, we have the coexistent fix cats that you can run your missing fix report when you're doing that. Okay. Hardware requirements for ZOS 2.5. So IBM ZOS 2.5 requires a IBM Z13 or Z14 or Z15 series system. As of ZOS 2.3, if you're running on a Z14 native, it requires 8 GB memory. If you're running, starting in ZOS 2.3, if you're running Z14 guest or ZPDT, it requires 2 gig memory. We do have a health check for the memory that's available. Okay, for target system requirements, so you want to get to required service. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go and get the latest hold data that's out there. When you go and download the latest hold data, make sure you get the full. On the website, it says full, so you want to make sure you get that. If you don't get that, you won't have all of the hold data that's available to you. And then you can use the missing fix report with the required service fix cat to get all the PTFs that you required to install on your system. Same thing here with the coexistence. You want to make sure you have the latest hold data installed on your system, and then run your missing fix report with the coexistence fix cat. Oh, this page is fun for me. This represents all the health checks today that we actually have in our ZOS 2.5 upgrade workflow. So the more the merrier. This is good. All the fires indicate workflow steps that Marn and I feel are important items to watch out for as you're doing your upgrade.
And if you're an RMF customer, right, then you've got to put SERB Linky into the link list, make it APF authorized, and use SERB CLS in the sysproc. Okay, so I tried to get everything you need to do on this one chart because probably someone is not going to do all these things and they won't have a resulting RMF system that they can use. Okay. Also, there are some security profiles that you need to change as well. Class equal program profiles for the renew and the removed data sets as well. All of it is spelled out in the upgrade workflow in a very nice step called, make changes for RMF restructuring. Okay, and Mark has done a great job reworking that step because we've had a lot of customer input on it, and then we have refreshed it and re-released it into the upgrade workflow. Everybody good with this? Because this is a big fire item. It's not hard to do, it's just you got to remember to do it. All right, so let's move on to crypto, ICSF. So the top one happened in ZOS 2.4, coming from 2.3 to 2.5. You've got to accommodate this. It is one of the easiest upgrade actions ever, and that is in your crypto proc. You've got to be pointing to your CSF parms to a member of a data set and not a data set itself. No sequential data sets, no flat files. It's got to be pointing to a member of a PDS for CSF, which is probably the name of your crypto proc. Now, the one on the bottom here, this was new for ZOS 2.5, or, I'm still thinking crypto of FMIDs now, because I'm never going to probably get over that for a while since we stopped doing web deliverables for them. So that's for HCR 77 DOG 2. DOG 2 is specific and only exclusively in ZOS 2.5. So what happened in DOG 2 or ZOS 2.5 is that crypto had some incredibly old parts, and they decided to clean it out. And these are back from ZOS 1.9. That is not a typo. ZOS 1.9 was the last time these parts existed. And you don't need to recompile. You don't need to relink. That's not a requirement. However, if you want to recompile or you want to relink a crypto application that you have, and you are still referencing these really, really old parts, it's easy. All you got to do is reference the new parts. Okay, and these are header files, the use of the side deck and link editing. If you have into the load module, there's a new name for the load module, and you just need to point to the BCP header file instead. Not hard to do. So if you try to relink and you see parts are not there, this is what's happened. Most people probably have moved up into recent times and they're not referencing these old ones anyway, but we wanted to come clean and say they're gone. So you need to not use them. But again, no requirement to relink, no requirement to recompile. All right, next one's in ZOSMF. And I have to say in ZOSMF, it is not a hard upgrade action. Remember, we have had a little bit of difficulties with ZOSMF in the past when we go to upgrade. And I'm thinking of auto start, right? Auto start was hard for some people, but it's not hard, right? Going to ZOSMF and doing upgrade actions is easy from 2.3 to 2.5 and very easy if you're coming from 2.4 to 2.5. So let's look at them. First one I think is actually a good thing. And yet you've got to start using the desktop interface for ZOSMF. Isn't that beautiful, right? It's a beautiful interface. You can customize it. You got colors. It's really nice. It's, I don't even like to call it an upgrade action. It's just a thing of beauty. Okay, so what we have on the desktop is some good things I want to point out. We have something called the App Center folder, and I fell into this myself. I came up with the desktop and I thought it was so nice, and I go to look at all my plugins and I can't find them. And I thought, oh my God, I lost all my plugins. I didn't. Okay, where were they? They were in this App Center folder, which is nicely kind of cleaned a little bit of my desktop up. And if I wanted them back out, I have to open the App Center folder and I have to drag them back out. Okay, not a problem. So I'm just going to tell you, you didn't lose them. They're all in there. They're in the App Center folder. And the App Center folder is this lower left button that you'll see right there. Another good thing I like about this is that you can create your own folder with the items in there that you use a lot. Let's say it's a data set or a directory or something else. You can put it in your own folder. It's awesome cool. And then also we have this little magnifying glass data set and file search, handy for handy things. If you come to the ZOSMF lab, which I'm hoping you all will, we're going to have a smorgasbord of 13 labs you get to pick from. You'll see the desktop interface. You'll be able to play with it. You'll be able to play with the data set and file search. Cool stuff. Okay. So that's the only interface to ZOSMF. The next one, I was just talking to a customer this week about that. The mobile notification service has been removed as of ZOS 2.5. I was talking to a customer, they were on 2.4. They saw this was out there. They got a little bit of excitement about it, and then it wasn't setting up correctly. And I said, yeah, because the base services that we need no longer existed, which is why we had to remove the REST API that was associated with it. Okay, so that's what's going on there. And there's the REST API that you can see there. We still have notification support for email and for having notifications within ZOSMF itself. On the desktop, it should be one of these things around here. One of these is notifications. Okay. The other one here, and again, this is like a thing of beauty, right? We removed the diagnostic assistant underneath the general settings task, and we made it its own task in its own right. And this is a wonderful thing because this diagnostic assistant, we're also going to do a lab on it this week, and it is a really good new lab. And what you can see under the diagnostic assistant, which is going to require user authority, of course, because everything requires user authority, is that you can see how to collect data a whole lot easier. You can set up a policy for pruning some of the logs that just take up a lot of space in the file system that you might not need. Go and poke around on that one in the lab. It is a great lab that we'll try that one with as well. So diagnostic assistant moved. You have to have authority to have the new one, and there's more functionality. That's great stuff. Also, I think this is the last one I have for ZOSMF, and that comes from the Network Configuration Assistant. We know that that plugin is one of the most popular plugins that we have in ZOSMF because it really helps configure your policy definitions and your TCP/IP stack. So what we see for the policy agent configuration files is you have to have them already imported into ZOSMF because you're not going to be able to import them at ZOS 2.5 or beyond. This does not affect the TCP/IP configuration definitions, which is also in the configuration network configuration assistant. Again, easy upgrade. I mean, nothing, it is all complicated as, auto start was, right? This is all easy stuff in ZOSMF. So you guys really should be happy about these enhancements that we put in 2.5. All right, next one, a big fire on this one. I tried to make a fire really big. It's only going to be applicable to a couple of people, I hope. Although I was talking to somebody this week already, I don't see him in the audience. He's got a little bit of a problem with this. This one you need to get in front of now before you order 2.5, before you install 2.5, if you are applicable to this problem. You cannot use ISF harms anymore and define the security definitions with ISF harms in the unique, SDSF method. You've got to use SAF for your security definitions. There is a session that's shared to talk specifically about this. If you are not doing this, you need to start fixing this. You need to be using SAF definitions right now. Word of advice, this is not something that you can do in just a couple of hours. It will probably take a while to get through. So what we've done is we've created an entirely new ZOS SDSF security migration guide. There are samples in there to help you. This is something you really need to do. But of course, if you're using SAF definitions today for SDSF, you don't have to do this one, which is a good thing. Okay, we've been recommending this for quite a long time, and now in 2.5 is where SAF definitions are required. Okay, question? Yes. Okay, so is the security configuration assistant have support for SDSF? That's a really good question. I'm I'm not really sure. I tell you, I'm going to go to the lab and I'm going to bring up Security Configuration Assistant, which we have a lab for, and I'm going to look in there for SDSF, and we're going to be able to find that out ourselves. I don't remember myself looking for it in there, but it might be in there. Because there is an external application for SDSF within ZOSMF, and so that way I think we've got the security external application settings in there. I'm just not sure if it's got ISF params or not. That's a good question. We can look at that and find that out soon. And we got a health check. So, you know, we've had a health check for this one forever. And if you're not paying attention to health checks, which you really should have seen this health check pop a long time ago. Question? Okay, so the question is if you have a competing product to SDSF, right? Usually we get the question about the security manager, but this, if you have a competing product to SDSF, then this is not applicable because this is an SDSF upgrade action. And I can't speak about what they do for security in any other spool manager competitor. This is an SDSF only one. If you look within the upgrade workflow and you're not entitled to use SDSF, you'll see all of these, this step will not even, you know, appear because this is not applicable to you unless you purchase SDSF. Question? Okay, so the question is all these APARs that are on the slide, and there are a lot because I like to give you guys a lot of specific information. Are they all part of the coexistence fixed cat? Some of them are part of the coexistence fixed cat. This one right here, PH27387, is not considered a coexistence one. If you want to, we can talk about it. If you think it might fall in the category of it, let us know, but it depends what the APAR is for, is what fixed cat tag it will have associated with it, right? We have some PTF, some APARs that we've tagged as driving system requirements. If they're associated with ZOSMF software management or even workflows, those will have a driving system fixed cat, right? So what I've tried to do is with the APARs, I tell you which fixed cat it's associated with. This one right here, I don't think it's associated probably with any fixed cat. But if you want to talk about it, definitely let me hear you. It's easy enough for us after the fact to tag a PTF as a fixed cat. It's easy to do, and if it would help you, let us know. Okay, so SDSF, we're keeping on with the SDSF. So if you're an SDSF customer, then this is applicable to you. Okay, update your path environment variables to reference the 64-bit JVM for SDSF. So if you have written SDSF applications, the SDSF product itself will need a 64-bit JVM in order to be able to serve those applications for you. Okay, so we did this on the release boundary to make sure that, you know, it was cleanly done at the release level and not in an APAR. Now, you don't have to change any of your application code for SDSF. You've written applications using SDSF, and that's totally fine. You don't have to change any of them. This is just the SDSF JVM that it uses itself. And it's very easy to do. You look for this in your path and live path, two live path ones, and you just change them to use the 64-bit flavor. This should be totally fine because you need Java 8 64-bit to run ZOSMF to install ZOS 2.5. So this should not be a problem. It's just a matter of getting the right path variable set up for SDS itself. Remember, you do not need to change your applications to support this. This is SDSF requirements itself. And if you don't use SDSF, you don't even have to do it. All right, so the next one is RACF. We have removed the RACF TSO help text that you'll see here, and this was a business decision that we made, and it's no longer there in ZOS 2.5. If you want to look at the TSO help commands for RACF, you need to use the RACF command language reference instead, which you can find on IBM documentation. If you try to invoke RACF help via TSO, you'll get this message here, help not available. That's what you'll see. The next one is one from ZOS 2.4. It is have an associated health check associated with it as well. RAC D cert command, you probably know that RAC F command. If you use that command and you use RSA PKDS keyword, so what that means is that you're going to take the RSA private key and you want to store it in your ICSF PKDS. Well, before ZOS 2.4, that RSA private key in the PKDS would be stored under a 24-byte master key, right? We wanted to increase the security level associated with that. So in ZOS 2.4, it's still stored in the PKDS, but now it's more secure in that the has to be, it's in the ECC master key, so it's using 32 bytes instead. However, that ECC master key has to be activated in the CCA coprocessor. So there's the rub. We went from a 24-byte master key, and now we're going to a 32-byte master key. Okay, that's all well and good, but now that 32-byte master key has to be activated in the CCA coprocessor. So if you issue the RAC D cert command and you're using RSA PKDS, you're going to have the ECC master key in the CCA coprocessor. That's kind of the chain of events that caused this upgrade action. There is a health check to remind you that you need that master key activated in the CCA coprocessor. The last one in here was a recommendation that we had in ZOS 2.5, and that's in the RACF dynamic class. We are going to, in the supplied dynamic class descriptor table that we have added IZP and Zoe. And so therefore, you don't need to add them into your own dynamic classes that you have specified, because we have them in the ones that we specify ourselves in RACF. So you can remove them. However, the warning thing, the situation was, there was a point in time when we had documented the wrong posit values for these classes. And if you would have used it, you really have to make sure that you're using the right posit values before you do the removal, because we have added with RACF ourselves the correct posit values. So there's a little paragraph that you can see in your handout about how to make sure you're using the right posit values before you clean that out. And that's why I put a little broom on there, because it's a little hygienic upgrade action. OpenSSH, ooh, this is a toughie. In ZOS 2.4, we upgraded the level of OpenSSH, and it went from 6.4p1 to 7.6p1. This was a rough thing for many people. So this is not just one that you need to hope you don't hit. You probably will hit this one if you're coming from 2.3 to 2.5. The problem was that there were a lot of changes that were not upward compatible necessarily in the new higher ported level that we took, 7.6p1. Some functions just do not exist anymore, and other functions had default changes. My best advice is to absolutely use the health check associated with this, because when you use the health check, it's a rather complicated and long health check, and it can tell you you are using something that's been deprecated, deleted. There's no sense of you providing them in there, because we're going to ignore anything you have. Okay, that's fork copy, kernel stacks, and max share pages. All three of those are gone. Just go ahead and take them out. Now remember, if you're going to share that ParmLib member, it might be needed on the prior level, but 2.5, we don't need those anymore. Okay, 2.5 was max share pages, and 2.4 was fork copy and kernel stacks. Okay, I like it when we get rid of stuff in a ParmLib member. It makes it easier to maintain, right? Less is more. Just 2, fire item, Z22 mode, right? You guys could see this coming. So ZOS 2.2 introduced Z22 mode for the checkpoint in JES 2. 2.5 is where Z22 is required. So before you IPL ZOS 2.5, make sure you have activated Z22 mode. You will not be on ZOS 2.5, be allowed to go back to Z11. What does Z22 need? It might need more extra 4K records in the checkpoint, and it also requires cylinder managed support be activated. Tom Wozniak's here. If you want to go through a whole lot more stuff, he's probably going to think, but I think most people are probably at Z22 already. Good. This has been around for quite a while. Good stuff into it. So just be required that it's there. So it is a fire to make sure you do it, but I think most people are this is going to be not applicable to them. We have a health check, of course, to tell you, and the upgrade workflow will run that health check and tell you if you're at Z22 yet. Okay. The next ones are for comm server. Mark did cover this one, that the FTP server is going to require that you use ATTLS. Okay, that's nice. And the lovely comm server guys, they always give us nice health checks so that they can identify whether it's something applicable on the system or not. So I really like that one. Also in IP services, we have yet again changed the fixed CSM default. If you look at the history of this default, you will see that it just changes all the time. They keep wanting to have a larger default. Okay, so what they have is the new default, which happened in 2.4, is 512 meg. Okay, so you guys probably maybe already have something larger than that already, but these are just default changes. Okay, and also Mark talked about a couple of other comm server removal items as well. So Mark and I have this thing called Big MIGs, right? We've been having this for a while. These are all of the fire items, and if you've not been listening to what we've been talking about for an hour, if you want to look at what just the most important things are, they're the Big MIGs. And the Big MIGs in 2.4, right? So if you're coming from 2.3 to 2.5, these are the Big MIGs for 2.4. 8 GB of memory required on a Z14 or higher, okay? And that's if you're running in a native LPAR, 2 gig if you're running on a ZPDT or as a guest. BCP, removal of that user key common area, right? Remember, RUXA is only going to help with one of the 3 removals. Mark went through that, right? So that's super important. Removed SMB, use NFS instead. Okay, and then we had some other items in here where we converted defaults to HTTP, moving to HTTPS. We had to hide that slide to make sure we can fit into an hour. This one hasn't been turning into much of a problem for customers, but do keep an eye on it because we want the system to be more secure, and we don't want you to override the default change for many of these. And there you go, that OpenSSH 7.6P1. That was a rough upgrade for several people going from 6.4P1 to 7.6P1. Don't underestimate that one. Okay, so these are the big guys that came in z/OS 2.4 and the big MIGs that came in z/OS 2.5. You're going to have server pack as a driving system requirement, right? We've been saying it's been going to come for a while. We're packaging server pack as a z/OSMF portable software instance. My best advice is to get ahead of that, right? Kurt's going to talk about it right after this session, right, Kurt? If you want to just stay in the same seat and listen to this is a good advice, okay? You really need to know how to install a portable software instance. It's not hard, and my advice is don't make z/OS 2.5 the first thing you try to install as a portable software instance. Try it on something smaller so that you can understand the flow first. Okay. HFS removal. Again, we've been saying this for a long time. HFS is going away, HFS is going away, and it went away in 2.5. SAF-based security for SDSF. Okay, we've been saying that one as well. Z22 mode. Everybody saw the writing on the wall for that. Many are already gone. Wonderful. We're good there. And then just perform these RMF structural updates. They're not hard to do, but they're several of them, and you can't forget to do all of them. Also make sure you order the correct thing on ShopZ for it. Now, I take any big MIGs that I think are big MIGs. I don't have a limit on big MIGs, right? 2.4, I had 5. 2.5, I've got 5. I don't know, I'll make as many big MIGs as I think I need to, right? But what I'm saying is 2.5 only had 5 things to get in front of here. And a lot of these we've been talking about for a long time. You can do that. That's why 2.5 should go and upgrade very easily into your environment if you have heeded all of this. Now, what's coming up in the future? I'd like to look at that. IBM Jez 3 is coming out in the release after 2.5. Okay. We'll talk about that one for a while. All right, we got 4 minutes, and I don't want to go through all of the summary things. Here's a fixed cat point. You had some questions about fixed cats. These are the fixed cats that you'll see mentioned kind of in this presentation, depending on what the APAR is for. And again, like that SDSF one, I don't think that has any fixed cat associated with it. But let's talk. Maybe you want it on there. Easy enough for us to do for you. Okay. Mark did mention this, but I think maybe it deserves a second mention in the summary. When ZOS 2.5 goes out, we're going to require Java 8 SDK 64-bit. We need that for ZOSMF to do the install and for ZOSMF in general and other stuff as well. But Java 8 is going to go end of service within the lifespan of ZOS 2.5. And where are we going to go? We're going to go to Semaru, which is the Java 11. Okay, it's called Semaru. We're going to go to 64-bit. So this is kind of the first time within the life of an operating system we're going to move Java levels from 8 to 11, which is Semaru. Okay, now I'm imagining in my mind we're probably going to want to do some fixed cats because we're going to have to issue APARs on a lot of different things to support Semaru, right? So just kind of get prepared with that. Right now you're good with Java 8 64-bit, but you know your work's not going to be over. In the middle of 2.5, we're going to have some stuff we need to do, so just get prepared for that. And then here's just a couple of the technical actions, summary stuff that we've got here. We talked a lot about default changes. BCP had 3 of them. Unix had a couple and some removals. That's really about it. 2.5 is not a bad release to upgrade to. If you pay attention to the big MIGs, you prepare to install it with ZOSMF. You know, it's not that bad. It's really a good release. We've had good results of it in the early customers that have started it. They've had stable systems. You know, once they got it installed, when they got past the RMF stuff, you know, everything's been really good. The code's been stable. All right, so any questions for Mark or me? All right, well, we're going to be here all week. Come see us at the receptions, and we'd love to talk more about upgrade. Any questions?
Thank you, Marna. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate y'all being here. Be sure and fill out your session evaluation forms at share.org/evaluation. We regret the technical problems online. I hope some of the recordings will be available and will not have the technical problems. Fingers crossed. Anyway, thank you very much for being here.